Lucario has a very special and powerful mechanic called Aura, which powers up all of his moves with each percent he receives, increasing the damage output, which naturally increases the knockback, hit stun, shield damage, shield hit stun, and pushback, making moves progressively safer and much more devastating, as well as increasing the range on some of his special moves while also drastically improving his recovery, thus making Lucario the most dynamic character in the game. He has a very powerful air and ground game due to his excellent projectile, which, in the form of Aura Sphere Charge, sets up into early combos and kill setups, as well as directly translating into him having extremely tricky aerial movement options in the form of B-reverses and wave bounces. And as the aura gets more powerful, it also rewards him with being able to edgeguard much better. Lucario's neutral game is mostly based on the aura sphere use and on his grab game, since they set up to a bunch of combos and kill setups. However, remember that Lucario's combos are mostly reaction based, since it all comes down to weight, percentage, and the amount of aura you have. So while I'll display some combos, keep in mind that it'll be a very vague demonstration of Lucario's combo game. Jab is Lucario's quickest grounded non-grab option that comes out in front. It's usually only necessary to use this move as an out-of-shield option to get the opponent off of you, whenever grab or forward air out of shield wouldn't work. However, if it's possible to go for a grab, you should always be prioritizing it, since jab doesn't really have any follow-ups. It can also be used to punish spot dodges. Up tilt is Lucario's most useful tilt. It starts behind him on frame 6, making it his main tool for punishing opponents directly behind him, or opponents that cross up his shield. It's a great combo starter and combo extender, leading into moves like grab, another up tilt, or up air. And at very high aura, it can be used as a quick kill option, especially since it combos to up air, or at least can make it a 50-50. While forward tilt is Lucario's slowest tilt, it has quite a few applications. It's a good move to be used as a retreating pivot option to provide a safe gap between you and your opponent at higher aura. Since it's a 2-hit move, which can be angled, it can be used to try and catch the opponent's 2-frame. Similarly, it can be angled upwards as an anti-air option. At very high aura, it can also potentially kill. Lucario's down tilt can be great to use in combination with his crawl and perfect pivot to space yourself correctly against shields. It has the lowest cooldown out of all of his ground-based moves, making it great as a pressure and baiting tool, since it's naturally his safest grounded option. While not being a great combo starter, it still puts the opponent in a very good spot for you to get potential follow-ups and combos depending on the amount of aura. Lucario's dash attack is quick and is a great move to punish opponents who are too far away for a grab or jab to connect. It's very effective in punishing missed techs. You can even cross up your opponent's shield with this, but be careful since it's not really safe on shield. Forward smash is one of Lucario's most devastating moves. It has a long reach and can net extremely early kills with high aura. It also lingers for 4 frames, so it could potentially be good against regular get-ups. Down smash is just a bit faster but weaker than forward smash. It covers both sides however, so it could potentially punish rolls. Up smash is Lucario's fastest smash attack and the one that sees the most use. The first hit starts on frame 15 and hits low, which then scoops the opponent into the second killing blow. Up smash is mostly utilized as a combo finisher off the Aura Sphere charge, which of course will be discussed in more detail later. It's also a powerful punish against ledge rolls. Neutral air has extremely little landing lag and has 2 hits. The first one hits in front on frames 8 to 11, and the second one hits behind Lucario on frames 22 to 29. It's one of his strongest tools in the neutral game, since it adds great shield pressure and it could be relatively safe if spaced correctly. And it gets even safer the more aura Lucario has, making it a great approaching tool and landing option. It's Lucario's main spacing tool and allows for follow-ups at pretty much any percentage. Depending on the amount of aura, it can lead into a grab, dash attack, down tilt, up tilt, a tech situation, a fully charged aura sphere, or other follow-ups. Neutral air can be very good at shield poking opponents on platforms, and it can potentially force a ledge slip until around 60%. Finally, it's great as a combo finisher out of a forward air or an up throw if you fast fall it, since it resets Lucario into a neutral position quickly, while putting the opponent in a disadvantageous position, allowing for a follow-up. Down air is Lucario's fastest move, dealing a decent amount of damage and is a great vertical combo breaker since it starts at frame 4. It can be used to stall your fall, to delay your landing, or recovery. The first hit of down air can lead to a grab or a force palm grab at higher aura. Due to the fact that it halts his momentum, it is also very effective on platforms, since if executed properly while rising through a platform, only the first hit will come out and Lucario will essentially platform cancel, allowing him to land quicker. Down air is also great for 2-framing opponents. You can also ledge jump and immediately down air, which is generally a quicker option than regular get up or get up attack. Back air is Lucario's strongest aerial. It has high startup, however it has insane kill power. Back air doesn't see much use at low aura, unless the opponent is at very high percentage. However, once you get high aura, this move becomes incredible. It becomes safe as a shield pressure tool by dealing a ton of shield damage, hit stun, and pushback. It's definitely the best aerial against ledge options, since it lasts for 4 frames and doesn't have a sour spot. Up air is Lucario's second strongest aerial behind his back air. This move will mainly be used as a combo finisher off of an up tilt or an up throw, and if they air dodge, you might be able to cover it with down air. Up air to up air could potentially be a good shield pressure tool against opponents on platforms. However, landing with an up air is not safe on shield. Forward air is a very versatile move and one of Lucario's most useful assets, due to its frame 7 startup and lowest cooldown out of all of his aerials, which makes it his main combo move. Depending on the aura, it can link into itself, neutral air, up air, or even a back air in very specific situations. And if it doesn't true combo into back air, it can at least set up for a potential 50-50 to connect at higher aura. Forward air can be used to cross up an enemy's shield, which can be relatively safe depending on what character you are facing, since you can intercept aggression with down air. It is also a potent option out of shield, as an anti-air. However, remember that forward air should mostly be used for starting and extending combos. One of Lucario's main objectives is to get a grab. He has the best traction in the game, which means he receives the least amount of shield pushback, making grabbing out of shield a little bit more reliable. He also has a decently long-ranged grab, the best pummel in the game, and it rewards him with a large amount of combos and kill setups. The main moves that lead into a grab are up tilt, down tilt, neutral air, the first hit of down air, and aura sphere charge. Up throw is Lucario's main combo starter, and like I mentioned before, Lucario's combos after an up throw are all reaction based. It all depends on the DI, weight, percentage, and the amount of aura. The main combos, however, are usually up throw to forward air or up throw to up air. And of course, since up air deals more damage than forward air, it's the more potent combo finisher. At higher aura, up throw creates a 50-50 situation. If they jump, they will get punished by up air. And if they air dodge, they will be punished with a back air or an up air. Combos out of up throw are much harder to pull off on floaty characters, and so at higher aura they will usually be able to escape Lucario's combos. Against fast fallers at low percentage, you want to go for an up throw to neutral air, since if you connect both the hits, it'll lead to a guaranteed grab. Down throw doesn't really serve any purpose for Lucario in singles, since up throw basically does exactly what down throw does, but much better. Back throw is mainly for launching the opponent off stage to set up for an edge guard. This is usually a better option if up throw will no longer combo. At mid percentage, it forces the opponent to tech, so it can potentially set up for a kill confirm if they miss the tech. Back throw is also generally Lucario's strongest kill throw. Lucario's forward throw serves the same purpose as back throw, as it can also kill at higher aura, since there is barely any animation at all for forward throw, so the opponent won't have any time to adjust their DI. The signature move of Lucario, the Aura Sphere, is an amazing projectile. Depending on Lucario's aura, his Aura Sphere will change in size and speed. At low aura, this move isn't too effective. However, it's devastating at higher aura, since it has a massive amount of kill power and shield damage. The more aura you have, the safer this move becomes at closer distance. This move is one of his main tools to trap landings and punish opponents for using their double jump. At higher aura, this move becomes a great option for safely two-framing opponents. Aura Sphere Charge is Lucario's main move in the neutral and needs to be used in application with Turnaround B, B Reverse, and Wave Bounce, which is basically a turnaround B that gets B reversed. It grows in size the more aura you have, making it safer and more practical the more percentage you get. It's used as both a mobility and combo tool. There's many different ways of utilizing this as an approach. You can cancel a charge with a shield, and you can cancel shield with jump. And if you want to do an up smash out of a charge, you just cancel the jump with an up smash. You can input this almost at the exact same time so that Lucario's shield doesn't even show up. The charge can also be cancelled with a simple grab. Depending on the opponent's positioning, percentage, and the amount of aura you have, Lucario can set up to any aerial or a jump cancelled up smash. This will start being true and kill most of the cast at around 120 to 185% if you have zero aura. And then depending on the character you're facing, that number starts going down as your percentage rises. For example, when you have about 80% aura, this combo will be true in kills between 60 to 105%. And as you get closer to max aura, it will kill between 30 to 45%. Up air and back air out of charge will start working at slightly later percentage than up smash. However, it can be useful for when the opponent is in a position where the up smash wouldn't connect. If they air dodge out of Aura Sphere charge, you can punish with a back air or forward smash. A decent option can also be just shielding, if you feel like you won't be able to get any follow-ups. This might allow you to get a grab behind you, for example, or an up tilt. Lucario can also shield drop through a platform from a charging stance. There are different ways of doing this, but a relatively easy method is to just smash down on the analog stick as if you were doing a smash attack, and then instantly press shield. If you connect with the opponent's shield, there are no real follow-ups, other than a potential grab, or by trying to catch their roll with another charge. And lastly, Aura Sphere Charge gives Lucario one of the best edgeguarding tools in the game. With low aura, this isn't really a threat. However, when you have a decent amount of aura for the Aura Sphere Charge to be big enough, and the opponent is recovering from below the stage, you can start charging an Aura Sphere at the ledge. If the opponent goes for a regular get-up attack, or ledge jump, they will be caught by the charge in most cases. If they roll, you can just throw the sphere. Be careful though, since some characters can release the ledge and attack you through this stage. However, if you happen to read that, they will now be forced to re-grab the ledge, which you can punish. At above 120% aura, the charge will start catching some characters by simply hanging at the ledge, covering every single option. The only way to deal with this is by smash DIing down and away, which will limit Lucario to only be able to follow up with a down air. You can also jump, activate the charge, and immediately press shield to directly land with shield. Force Palm has two uses: Force Palm Grab and Force Palm Flame. If it connects up close, this move will grab the opponent and launch them forward. The knockback of this grab scales incredibly with aura. Force Palm Grab starts on frame 9, which is 3 frames longer than his standing grab. Some characters' command grabs, like Wario's or Bowser's, will work in the air, but that's not the case for Lucario's Force Palm. He still needs to be on the ground in order for it to work. However, if you start it in the air and land between frame 1 to 8 of the startup animation, Lucario will still grab the opponent as he lands. However, if you land at frame 9 or later, it'll be too late and Lucario won't grab. This is extremely good to combine with Lucario's back air pressure. Since back air is an amazing killing tool, you can jump towards the opponent and condition them into shield with the back air, then punish their shield with a landing force palm grab. When the opponent is not close enough for the grab portion of force palm to connect, the force palm flame will come out instead. This move has the properties of a projectile and increases in range and damage output the more aura you have, and since it is a projectile, it can be caped and reflected, so be careful. The distance that the flame travels becomes incredible at high aura, making it a better and better spacing and zoning tool as your percentage rises. You can also B-reverse or wave bounce the flame for added mix-ups. If you have very high aura and the opponent is at low percent, you can try comboing the force palm grab into force palm flame. Double Team is Lucario's counter. It comes out at frame 5 and lasts for 39 frames. During frame 5 to 39, Lucario is intangible, and then Lucario becomes vulnerable from frame 40 to 80. Once the counter activates, it comes out after 28 frames. And when the counter hitbox starts, he is intangible for 3 frames, vulnerable for 2, intangible for 5, vulnerable for 3, and then throughout the rest he keeps being intangible for 4 frames, vulnerable for 2, intangible for 4, vulnerable for 2, and so on until it ends. Since the first hitbox of counter comes out after 28 frames, it makes it slow enough for the opponent to potentially shield, if they use a really quick attack. However, remember that the opponent will still suffer from the hit lag. In some rare situations, depending on where the counter gets activated, you can counter Lucario himself if you manage to hit him during the time that he is vulnerable, which makes it a bit of a gamble. However, this is also why Lucario can choose himself what direction to appear from, and so by appearing from the other direction, the opportunity to counter him might not be there at all, as well as the counter hitbox might connect faster. As the counter is activated, you can hold right to appear from the right side, or left to appear from the left side. However, if you don't hold any direction, Lucario will always appear from the direction he is looking at. Unlike most regular counters, Double Team does not take into account how much damage the opponent's move dealt. Instead, the damage output is solely calculated based on how much aura you have. Since the counter comes out at frame 5, it can potentially be used as a combo breaker against certain characters. You might also be able to use this to counter projectiles, and possibly close the gap between you and the opponent. Extreme Speed is a very simple but hard to control recovery, since at higher aura, the speed and distance can become hard to properly deal with. Lucario's recovery can be both amazing as well as a big weakness, as it can leave him extremely vulnerable. Extreme Speed travels further the more aura you have, and it has a hitbox at the end, which also has its damage increased the more aura you have. When recovering, you have 3 possible ways of getting back to the stage. The first option is recovering directly to the ledge. However, since Lucario's ears will stick out during extreme speed, extending his hurt box, it makes his recovery a bit more vulnerable than usual recoveries. The second option is recovering directly back to the stage. However, you need to remember that there are 3 different stages of landing lag, depending on how you land on stage. Stage 1 is basically sliding into the ground. You want to make sure that the analog stick is pointed diagonally into this stage when recovering, while Lucario is parallel to the stage, sliding along it. This gives him 31 frames of landing lag. Stage 2 is crashing down onto the stage, which gives Lucario 38 frames of landing lag. Stage 3 will happen if you recover in any other type of way, giving Lucario 62 frames of landing lag. And the third option is recovering towards a wall, to wall cling, which allows you to wall jump, or double jump, unless you've already used it. However, if you choose to land on stage without first grabbing the ledge, you will land with a recovery carryover lag. You do not receive this landing lag if you land with Aura Sphere charge. However, this landing lag will carry over until the next time you land with an empty hop, no matter how many times you land with Aura Sphere charge. This landing lag can be neglected by simply grabbing the ledge, or by landing with an aerial. To put it simply, you're going to want to mix up your recovery as much as you can, since all the different recoveries can be good at the same time as they can all be very punishable. If Lucario gets grabbed during extreme speed at the edge of a stage where his feet still haven't touched the ground, and then gets grab released, he won't be able to use extreme speed again. The hitbox at the end of extreme speed is particularly important. If your opponent is standing at the edge of a stage trying to edgeguard you, you can aim extreme speed at them to try and knock them away. A very neat mechanic though is that Lucario can decide himself which direction the opponent should be knocked away in, depending on which direction you are holding the analog stick when you hit them, instead of always holding into the stage when recovering. After initiating extreme speed, tilt the analog stick out into the blast zone right before you're about to hit your opponent. This will send them off stage and could potentially kill. Lucario's above average weight and dynamic recovery greatly help his survivability. He's a character who highly benefits from trades and heavily complements a player who is very good at surviving, rewarding them with the incredible power of Aura. Lucario's Aura is not a privilege. It's something Lucario has because he has to take advantage of it. It makes up for all of his other weaknesses. He has a very hard time landing and recovering back to stage, at the same time as he generally is a very vulnerable character. He can take a lot of damage easily. His neutral game at 0 aura is heavily focused on finding a grab opportunity. With no aura, his neutral game is lacking. His approach tools are limited because they aren't really safe at low aura. It isn't until he hits those higher percents that his neutral actually improves. So you need an effective use of Aura Sphere charge movement and shield dashing. Neutral air as a spacing tool or an anti-air. Up tilt is option coverage behind and above, down tilt and dash attack in front. He also has a hard time killing with no aura, which is why he has aura to get more and more rewarded for staying alive. This is why it benefits Lucario to play defensively at high aura, to stay alive for as long as possible. Defense in this case is much less risky and more beneficial. However, his aggression and zoning also gets boosted because of the size of the charge and the raw power of all of his moves, as well as it naturally conditions an opponent into playing more respectfully with shield. And so losing his stock is very detrimental. It means that the Lucario player has to put in extra work for the next stock. If Lucario loses his stock and has less stocks than his opponent, it takes 8 seconds for it as Lucario spawns to gradually build. So you want to just stand there and wait. If Lucario kills the opponent, it takes 8 seconds until his aura gradually gets weaker, so the opponent wants to wait. I also want to give credit to Pur Gars and Astro for helping me out with this guide. These guys are awesome Lucarios, so make sure you check them out. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe for more awesome videos.